Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, Bomb1337.
And this is Dozer, the PC Exposer.
And you are listening to the You Should Play This podcast. So let's get right into it. Waka, 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 All right. Fun.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
how you get your stretches out. That's how you get your stretches out before you do a podcast.
I imagine it's like demons leaving my soul. No, I don't know.
those
Let it
those
out.
darn demons. Cool thing. WrestleMania. I guess it'll be Monday when this comes out. So WrestleMania just ended. So I guess I'll be excited or disappointed as usual. That'll be fun. Before we start the podcast, we've got a free shout out that we're giving to a friend of ours. He's setting us up with some really cool preloaded Raspberry Pi. It comes with tons of preloaded games from Nintendo to Super Nintendo to Apple II. So many great games. And you can check. I know. I can't wait to get this. You can check this guy out at facebook.com/Tillo Designs. It's TILLODESIGNS. Tillo Designs. This guy does tons of stuff. He's a graphic artist. So if you need any graphic work done for your website or t-shirts, he's a great guy to talk to, as well as he does
it looks like his album covers, man. Look at those album covers.
Yeah,
awesome.
Tons of album covers. He's a very talented guy, so check him out.
Yeah.
Really great guy to deal with. Fast shipping, very competitive prices, really cool stuff. So check him out. Again, that Facebook page is facebook.com/Tillo Designs. So check him out. We're getting preloaded pies, which I can't wait. I can't wait to get my preloaded pie.
We'll link it in the podcast. I'll put it in the description.
Oh yeah,
too,
when we get them, we'll sit down and play with them, and then we'll podcast about them. I can't wait to actually try out. I haven't tried. I can't believe nobody really knows what a Raspberry Pi is. There's a lot of people out there using it, but it's very unknown still, and it's something that I think everybody should have. It's a mini computer that you can carry around with you at all time that hooks into an HDMI port. It's amazing. It's got USB ports on it. It's got an HDMI out on it. And then you just you could hook your keyboard into it if you want to use it as a computer. You can hook a video game controller into it if you want to use it as a game system. It's amazing.
Or you could just connect to the cloud and interact with the cloud too. I mean, if
absolutely.
You're just one of these minimalist people who don't want to have like a huge computer, it'll get you at least into the internet where you're connected to the rest of the world, and you can game on it.
Absolutely. Or you can create a ColecoVision with I'm
still sad about that.
All right, we won't make fun of them anymore. Today we have kind of a fun topic, but it's sad at the same time. As usual, we always have fun topics, so I feel. Today's topic, James.
Old school fails.
We're talking about 3 major systems that we have in mind. The failure of the competition, if you will. We're going to be talking about the Philips CDI. We're going to be talking about the Atari Jaguar. And we're going to be talking about the Panasonic Real 3DO.
Wait. Is it Jaguar or Jaguar?
I guess it depends on where you're from. And as you would say in California, the
Atari Jaguar.
Yeah, I remember that.
Hey, dude, Atari Jaguar, bro.
That was really cool. I remember.
And then I took the 405 to the 101. And then I hopped up on Sepulveda.
Dude, it's so funny. When I first moved there, my GPS would say it Sepulveda.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, the first time I said that to somebody, I like was like, yeah, I hopped off the exit and I was on Sepulveda, and they were like, where? What are you?
You're new in town. That's what they probably said. That guy,
they looked at me
he's
like,
fresh off the boat.
The guy has no idea which coast are you from.
It takes like a month to learn how to say that word, Sepulveda. Yeah.
Sepulveda, I got it now. So when you get there and your GPS is telling you Sepulveda, it's not. It's Sepulveda.
It's Sepulveda. Yes.
And you can take Sepulveda and intersect with Venice, and you will get to one of the best taco trucks in the world. Another free shout out.
I love it. I live on the west side. I go to work on the west side. I know where all the little, taco shops were to get Johnny Pastrami's in Culver City, Victor Jr.'s if you want something kind of East Coasty Italian. That's right next to Sony Pictures. Dude, there's all
my favorite thing still.
Places.
My favorite thing still, and as we digress, but my favorite thing still will always be getting a Southwestern sandwich from Ralph's. I get off the airplane, and if it's during the day, first place I go is Ralph's. I drive straight to Ralph's, and I get the Southwestern sandwich. It's so good. Oh, man, we are giving away so many shout-outs. So
That's
anyways.
crazy, man.
Anyways, talking about all that stuff.
Grocery
Let's get
stores.
into it.
Yes, what else were we talking about?
Grocery stores on a video game podcast. So let's talk about it a little bit. Let's get you into the knowledge of what these systems were. The Philips CDI was a compact disc system with wireless controllers, which was like their idea to make the system kind of catchy. Some of their best games were The Seventh Guest, which was one of my favorite PC games from back in the day, but it was an awesome transfer onto the Philips CDI. And another game that was really, really popular and actually got mentioned as a nominee for Game of the Year was this game called Burn Cycle. And if you guys...
I remember that.
Yeah, it was a good game. And if you guys had ever played the Heavy Rain game on PlayStation 3, the creators of Heavy Rain, this was one of their first projects, was Burn Cycle. To see that these people have gone, and still made some great games. I mean, that was a great game for the Philips CDI. So that's kind of fun to look into. Another one of the systems that we're going to be talking about is the Atari Jaguar. Some of the things that are cool about this system, it was a cartridge-based system with a CD add-on and a huge multiple button controller. Some of the big top games that came out for the Atari Jaguar were Tempest 2000, which was an arcade, a reinvention of an arcade game. Wolfenstein, which was an original PC game, but it had nice sped-up graphics. Yeah. And Rayman, which is it's still popular today. The Atari Jaguar versus the Super Nintendo on that, and the Atari Jaguar just had a much better, solid color palette. Moving into, last but not least, the Panasonic Real 3DO. It was a compact disc-based system with controllers that were wired, but they wired together. There wasn't a second player port. If you were playing with two players, you had to connect one controller into the other controller and play side by side with the other guy. It was a very short leash on those controllers, so close, nice, close
really
quarters.
Watch your rage quitting with that. Don't be throwing.
Yeah, wham! This is my controller. One of the cooler things about the 3DO was they did have a little bit of first-party support. Games like Street Fighter II Turbo, which was considered the best port to come out on any video game system of Street Fighter, just because it was so direct to the arcade. Gex, which is a huge, huge hit, which was one of their first display games. And Crash and Burn, which was rated one of their #1 games of all time. This was, again, a compact disc-based system. So at the time, all these systems, when they came out, were really innovative. The cartridge-based system, having a 64-bit cartridge system, which, yeah, we can argue none of the games were 64-bit, but boy did they try. There was some of the problems was that nobody knew how to design and program for it. Also, the inside of the Atari Jaguar, I believe, was a couple of 16-bit processors and a 32-bit processor and some other weird things that made everything like add up to 64 bits. The biggest problem Atari faced with this was no third-party support. So they got nobody else working on it except for Atari, which is a kind of a bummer. So let's talk about a little bit about what killed those systems. All right?
Yeah.
What killed those systems? Number one thing that killed those systems was the oversaturation in the market at the time.
Oh, yeah.
The Sega and the Super Nintendo. These guys were powerhouses. Handheld systems from both of those companies. Powerhouses. You had Sega coming out with its own CD add-on. What made that nice for people was they already had a Sega, and they already trusted Sega. They didn't know Panasonic, you know what I mean? This is kind of one of the more fun things to think about too, is the Philips CDI. Sony worked on that with them. So like Sony worked on stuff before, and then they jumped over to Nintendo. Then they left Nintendo and made the PlayStation. All these systems, when they were coming out, their lifespans all passed the PlayStation 1. So you can even say the PlayStation 1 was a competition for these guys. They lasted past 1998, every single one of them. Price points, huge problem. The Atari Jaguar was the only reasonable price point on this at $249.99 at release, right? Yeah. The other ones, $700 to $1,000 to $1,500, depending on the system set that you bought. Who are they marketing that to? They're not marketing to that kids.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are definitely adults that are older than us that play video games, but I don't think people were really buying them. If you were, I don't know, making that type of money. Because I mean, you got to remember, this was, early '90s. I mean, we can get a PlayStation 4 right now for $300. So that's a sweet machine, and that's $400 2016 money.
But could you get a PlayStation 4 for $400 in 1992?
Oh, no.
No. So this was the idea that they had. I mean, especially with the Philips CDI, I mean, half of their library is CD copies of movies. They were trying to create like something beyond the Laserdisc at the time, which eventually turned into DVDs. But obviously their software wasn't.
I mean, it's kind of ahead of its time, because if you look at like a modern day, like the Xbox, it's kind of like your entertainment machine, and maybe they were trying to create that. Maybe they were visionary, and it's just maybe the public wasn't ready for it,
Well, this is another thing. The public might have been ready for it if there weren't paid slander ads in magazines from Nintendo and Sega trying to keep those third-party developers down. Now, there's another thing you talk about. That is pretty gangsta. Dude, those guys are wicked hard. Nintendo, without a doubt, was one of those companies. They were bullies, and in my mind, they're still kind of bullies, even though they're playing the underdog right now. If something was threatening them from 1985 to like 1997, they were like, "We're gonna sue you. We're gonna take all your money. You can't talk. You can't." I mean, it didn't matter what it was. It could have been Blockbuster. They sued Blockbuster. Okay,
wow.
They sued Tengen. They sued Atari. They sued Sega. They sued everybody they could to hold them up long enough so they would come out the successor. The only people they didn't end up suing was Sony, which was the one they really should have gone after all these years later.
Well, and that's, I mean, in my opinion, their whole video game, part of their company is still the one that's making money. I mean, I know that the console war gets tricky. I mean, who's going to be the top, dog always in the game? Top.
Sony kind of like Sony walked away from this. It's funny how we look at like the console wars. Sony walked away from this one pretty flat. They didn't, I don't think they oversold, but they definitely won this fight. Where Microsoft dominated the last war, no doubt. But in this war, it was almost like the gamer looked at it like, you got too many gadgets on your screen, and I can't get down.
I just want to play my game.
What else killed the system? No third-party supporters.
Oh yeah.
If you can't get somebody else to make your games, if Nintendo goes, look, if you make a game for that company, we're not going to buy video games from you anymore. That's horrifying. You know what I mean? Like, that's scary. Like, if Capcom jumped the ship and was like, I'm going to make Castlevania on the 3DO.
Yeah. Well, I think that might have fed into the cycle, because all these companies we're talking about, the Jaguar, the Atari, the 3DO, the CDI, they all, I think the Atari sold the best, or maybe the 3DO at 2 million. I mean, these are really low numbers. I mean, what is the CDI?
They're really,
CDI
really
sold
low numbers.
1 million. I mean, that's not really a good sign. I mean, you need to sell tens of millions. I mean, what did the PlayStation at that time, would it sold 10, 15 million? I don't know. Now, if you only sell that, I mean, you got to make that much quicker. I mean, I don't know how many PS4s are out there compared to Xbox Ones. Xbox.
Well,
Ones,
if you look at the numbers now, it's astronomical. I mean, it's just like old stats and old sports. Yeah. But you can't keep track of the ones that sell aftermarket. After the system's discontinued, you can't keep track of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If the Nintendo's numbers were sold out at the correct rate that they're sold out now, it'd be up in the high 100 millions. I can't tell you how many secondhand shops sell off Nintendos over and over and over again, and how many Retrons and stuff like that people are buying it just for the Nintendo. It's pretty crazy if you think about it. There's no CDI, retro CDI system coming out. No, if
you're going to get a CDI, you have to find a CDI that's working.
Yeah, which not easy to do, but I'm going to my living room. Load times were a really interesting problem for these systems as well. Load times, they weren't, it took a while. CD software at the time, you were from 1x to 4x, you know what I mean? So you didn't really have that speed. I mean, the average CD burner now is what, like 58x? It's almost like the low end.
They're not even investing anymore in that technology anymore. I mean, that's been at that for a while. I mean, as far as CD technology goes,
right?
I mean, people are starting to use less and less. The Blu-ray discs, I guess, they're getting pretty fast. But people are starting to use less and less disc-based mediums, so they're not really developing it too much. As far as I can tell.
And that brings us to the number one problem that came out with all these systems: poor programming. Nobody knew what they were doing.
Yeah. They were ahead of their time. They were so far ahead. I mean, the great concepts, but I mean,
no idea how to make the system work. And that was the thing with the Nintendo. They had a base. With the Sega, they had a base. They're like, this is what we do to make this system make a game. This works out well for us. We can make tons of games with this programming method. When these game systems came out, they were talking to people who left those companies and would come over to their company and be like, well, I know how to program for a Nintendo, but I don't know how to program for, something that runs on CD technology. It became problems. People were discovering, how to do it. And yeah, there were some good titles along the way. There were some people who were super ahead of their time, which we talked about. I mean, Crash and Burn on the 3DO. I mean, Tempest 2000 is still to this day, I think, has one of the best soundtracks in any video game ever made on the Atari. And of course, Burn Cycle. If you've never seen Burn Cycle before, hop on YouTube and check out just a couple minute clip of somebody playing it. It's absolutely phenomenal. One of the things that these systems did, these CD-based systems, is they tried really, really hard to get Star Power to come in and be, visual mediums for them to boost their system. And one of the things that I remember the most from the Panasonic 3DO is Wing Commander 3. Wing Commander 3 starred Mark Hamill. Game.
Yep.
Yeah, fun game, but I mean, Mark Hamill. Dude, Luke Skywalker was on my TV, and I was controlling this storyline. It was just one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah.
This was, like it said, ahead of her time. Now, innovations. 64-bit in 1993. CD real-time video in 1993. That's crazy. Stuff appearing on your screen. CD real-time stuff appearing on your screen. That's unheard of. We take it for granted today. Obviously, every single video game comes with a nice clip. But before that, the only way you ever saw that was on like a PC game that came with 54 floppy disks that you had to load into your computer.
Put in the game disc. Put in the other game disc. Put in the equipment disc.
I never understood. Yeah, I never understood changing from disc 1 to disc 4. It was like, dude, just go in order. Why? Why? This isn't a pick your own adventure. This is Isle of the Dead. And the other thing that was crazy about it was some of these had like mini hard drives in them. Now, their mini hard drives obviously stored like 20 megabytes to 50 megabytes. You know, it wasn't.
Oh, yeah, dude. I had a 10 megabyte on my 8088.
Right, dude. I mean, like these, like I said, these are kind of weird if you think about it. Like a 50 megabyte hard drive was like a big deal on some of these systems. So they had higher storage, which is good for clarity of gaming. I mean, and again, like I said, the 3DO had some really good third-party help. They had Road Rash. They had a bunch of cool games as well. But these other systems, no dice. And there lies one of the biggest problems. What could they have done, James, do you think, to change this whole entire thing around? What would you say if the next console war contained the Nintendo NX and the Panasonic Go or something? I don't know. Something new. How would they have beaten Nintendo and Sega in the situation they were at? They didn't even stand a chance, did they?
And that's what I think it was, is they really didn't, stand a chance. You had a crashing video game market, and Nintendo made so much ridiculous amount of money. They were just like, we could piss away our money for whatever. So they were just really aggressive because they obviously had all the cash. And Sega, held on for dear life. But look what happened to Sega at the end of this whole thing. I mean, there's no more Sega systems coming out. So
no. And people keep teasing that Dreamcast too, but it ain't happening, folks.
Well, and it was a war of attrition, and in war, dude, part of the reason you go to war with another country is that, sometimes the other country, it's not about like, giving them a knockout blow. It's just about, starving them off or killing them off, because you can go the distance where they can't. So,
yeah.
And that's what I think Nintendo did. And, and it's just, yeah, I think they just entered the game. And as I said, innovative, but as I said, nobody. They were just slammed. I mean, those numbers were so low on their sales.
Oh yeah, terrible. The 3 front runners right now, those guys aren't running out of money anytime soon, so you don't have to worry about them not making another system. Will anyone ever try to compete against those guys again?
Man, I think so. There's going to be somebody that's going to come up. Well, I mean, there's already talks about, PCs are coming back around and dismantling things again. I don't know.
I'm not talking about a Steam box. I'm talking about a brand new company or an existing company coming out and trying to make a new video game system to fight the market. Will that ever happen again, or are we stuck with these 3 powerhouses?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it really is.
It's kind of a bummer if you think about it, because in the 90s, we had the hope that somebody was going to come out with something new. Even if it totally blew chunks, you knew that something was coming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like, nope, this is it. This is where we kind of lay. Like, there's no other companies really going out because it's hard to find developers for it. It's hard to find first-party people to want to come and work for your company.
Yeah.
So this is where we're at with this, I guess. This is the failure of these systems is kind of the lesson of what ends up happening when you go against powerhouses. It's kind of sad.
Nintendo, yeah. As much praise as we give, it's kind of like, the dark side of Nintendo.
Yeah, we certainly do praise Nintendo quite often. Maybe we should cut back on that a little bit.
I mean, Nintendo to me is like Disney. Everybody knows about Disney's dark past, but it's it's great still.
God,
it's awesome.
Disney's
Mario's so cute.
Yeah, he's adorable. He's the take of my money. It's kind of crazy. I'm just kind of. It was funny when we started doing this podcast. I I was like, yeah, we're just going to talk about the specs and we'll get into it. And now, like, at the end of this, before we go into the break, because I think we need to go into that now. Before we go into the break, I'm actually depressed.
Oh, don't
thinking about the fact it's sad. These companies, poor companies, all they wanted to do is make us happy, and they just failed. And it was our own fault. We didn't support them. This is the thing. When something new comes out, you got to support it.
Well, I don't know, man. When I was, let's say 1990, 1994, I mean, I wasn't making that much money. I was like saving money for college, man. I wasn't like.
That's true. I wasn't making 3DO money.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's just kind of a bummer. We hope at one point something else comes new. And you know what? That's what the You Should Play This podcast is here for. Because as soon as we find out, you find out. Huh? How about that?
Yep.
How about spinning it at the end, making it a little bit happier? Although, still pretty sad when it comes down to it. But hey, whatever. We're going to hop into the break. What do you think, James?
Let's do it. Let's have a little break.
All right, we're going to hop into the break. We're going to be right back with the PPR. PPR is a fun one this week in the mailbag right after these messages. So sit tight.
Now, a word from our sponsor. You are listening to the You Should Play This podcast.
This is Babam1337.
And this is Dozer the PC Exposer.
You can see all of our shows at YouShouldPlayThis.com.
Or follow us on Facebook at You Should Play This.
Or write us an email at YSPTpodcast@gmail.com.
You can also direct message us on our Facebook page with questions you have about gaming.
Now back to our podcast, previously recorded. And we're back from the break.
Back from the break. Back from the break.
Saxophone.
Yes.
We're back from the break. James, we got a fun game today. I had a lot of fun playing it.
Oh, dude, before I always try to play something before, we get to the, actual show, to record the show.
Yeah.
And I was so happy. You were like, give me another 15 minutes. I was like,
yeah, I was just getting all my research material together before we started talking. Yeah, dude. So today's game is Slain. On the Steam Market PC. It's available on the Steam Market for 12 buckaroonies right now. And that will go up. It's on sale at the moment. Let's talk a little bit about Slain, shall we?
Oh, yes, let's do.
Yes, let's do. You Castlevania fan, James?
Oh, huge Castlevania fan. I used to, as I said previously, 45 minutes. I got it down to an art form. I could do the first Castlevania game, beat it top to bottom, 45 minutes.
It's Castlevania obviously has quite a lineagio. Everybody loves the lineage of Castlevania. And there are a couple other games out there that were very similar that people loved, like Ghost and Goblins.
Oh, yes.
Games that had evil haunting, Splatterhouse.
Altered Beast.
Games that had good soundtracks, Altered Beast, Rise from Your Grave. Slain falls into that genre pretty damn well, I think. I think it falls into that genre perfectly. Slain is a action platform game with minor RPG elements. Minor. Meaning you can kind of like, if you collect the correct stuff, you can power up your sword and stuff like that. Nothing amazing. At first glance, I thought this game was really hard. I had to get calibrated into playing a tougher platform.
Yes.
It wasn't what I thought at first, because you're not paying attention. You walk into the brushes, you're like, oh, my health's down to like a quarter piece, and then you get hit by one thing. Like, it's
easy to get slain in this game. It's very easy to get slain. It's the reason why it's called Slain is because you will get slain in this game.
Super slained. If you say a word too much, it loses meaning. Slained. Slain. Slain. Roads. So Slain, I mean, first off, it's getting a lot of mixed reviews. So why don't we talk about that for a little bit? What have you been reading on the message boards about these mixed reviews? That has kind of been annoying me a little bit because it's weird.
Well, it was interesting because, people. I mean, I just kind of saw this right when it was dropping. Like, you turned me on to this game, and I was like, "Yes, let's play this and review it." But I saw
the PPR this week.
It looked awesome. The videos. I mean, you go watch their marketing on the Steam download section, on the store, and check it out. It'll just, you're like, this game is awesome. And what happened was it was kind of, it's. I don't know if you call this a beta. Is it an alpha or beta?
This is definitely a beta. It's called version 1 of the game, so it's a fully released game.
So,
but they had mentioned the day of release that they're still tweaking stuff.
And so this game, you have to play with a controller. And so all these people gave it bad reviews because it was a little laggy with a keyboard. So they were releasing it. The game company said, hey, it's got some bugs, just to let you know. And this is a good example to really read the reviews and find out why people are reviewing games the way they are. Because sometimes people gave bad reviews just because they're playing an alpha, and sometimes I like playing an alpha. We reviewed Grip a while back, the game Grip, and I pulled that back out because I got my steering wheel working on that game, and that game was an alpha, and it's still in its early stages, and it kicks butt. So I'm happy they released an early version. And it has some glitches, too. So this game has just a minor glitch in it. And people complained. This is an awesome game. So, especially for the side-scrolling genre that it is.
Absolutely. And what killed me about the complaints is it was like they butchered the game as soon as they were like, well, the keyboard doesn't work. And then you would see little things, still thumbs down. Put my controller in, works a lot better, but still wouldn't recommend it. Well, why? You gave the graphics a 10 and the soundtrack a 10, but you gave the controls a 1. And then when you said I started playing again, it's just a little weird to me, the mixed reviews that came out on it right off the bat. Now I didn't play it with a keyboard. I obviously took some of the reviews and said, okay, well, clearly the keyboard is not the way to go. So I had the best or the most optimal gaming experience I could have possibly had playing this game, which was playing it with a controller. I played it with my 360 controller.
Yep.
The game
that's my go-to as well.
Game runs nice and smooth. It's just nice because you USB it in and you call it a day. It's very easy.
Yep. Mine glows a pretty green. I could change the colors in it, but it's looks cool.
Very fancy. You're a very fancy man.
Yes.
Doze of the PC Exposer is a very
fancy
man.
Shiny Xbox controller.
I have a Rock Candy one, and those are going for like $20. So if you want a cheap, good quality controller, Rock Candy it all day. I think they're great.
My
Wii
nice. Remotes are Rock Candy, and they work.
They work just fine, right? It's actually a third-party developer I was shocked on.
They probably don't take as many drops, so you maybe have to make sure you're not dropping them on the ground. But you know what?
I drop mine all the time.
Okay.
Dude, this thing's like an armored beast. I haven't had one issue with it.
Candy.
But back to the game. Personally, and this is how I feel personally, I feel like this game was really well put together if you're into that nostalgic 8-bit feel.
Yes.
The soundtrack moved me through it. I really enjoyed every piece of it. I played it for about 3 hours. You don't have to play it for too much more. You can beat the game in about 3-4 hours if you really learn the way the controls work. This is the thing, too. I saw people reviewing. This kind of bothered me, too. You can see their playtime on the game, right? And it says, 0.3 hours, right? And they're like, I beat the game and it wasn't really good. There's no way you beat the game in 0.3 hours. In 15 minutes, you beat the game.
Yeah, why would somebody say that? I mean, what benefit?
I don't know why
that?
people. That doesn't help. That doesn't help the review process. I have not beaten the game. I'm going to tell you the truth. I haven't beaten the game yet. I've been playing it. It's a great game. It's very responsive with a controller. So I'm going to just get right into the ratings because I think it's time to just hit it up with the ratings. Graphics, I give the game a 7. If you're into that nostalgic feel, really cool color palette. There was a couple of small issues I found with the menus popping up because of the colors in the background. When the menus pop up, they kind of overshadow the colors. I'd like to see that brought out more. But other than that, the graphics were really fun. And if you're into that old school retro feel, I thought it was pretty damn good. James?
Yes, I gave the graphics a high rating as well. I gave it an 8. I really thought they nailed this beautifully. I thought it was very atmospheric. I liked it's kind of like the blood kind of flying through the sky, like in a stormy manner. I thought that was really awesome. And I just felt like they did a lot that really went with the sound design of the game. That really just, I don't know, created an environment. So, yeah, I definitely...
Yeah, totally.
I dug it.
Totally. Gameplay again varied. If you played it on a keyboard, you're going to feel a little differently than me because I played it on a controller. But I thought the gameplay was just fine, and I gave it a 7. Everything was pretty smooth. There was a little bit of button lag at the beginning, I felt, but it really wasn't actually button lag. It was just me getting used to swinging the way that the sword actually swung and getting the timing down. Once I got the timing down, I was able to hit everything no problem. My jumps were timed perfectly. The jumps were very responsive. And I gave the gameplay, as far as the way you walk through and you course through each level, I gave the gameplay a 7. James?
Yep, I gave it a 7 as well, for all those reasons. And it's with any of these games, and you'll kind of know, or maybe you already do know since you were around during those times. But like when you're playing a Sega system compared to a Nintendo system, different games and stuff. Some games are responsive, some games not so much. I mean, you look at the Ninja Turtle game, that incorporated the third button on the controller, so that that added new elements to the gameplay. So this game itself, I think, felt just getting used to an emulation of an old system. But yeah, I dug it. 7. It felt really good once you got into the groove of the game, and it was quite pleasurable to play.
Soundtrack, James. Soundtrack was unreal, wasn't it?
Oh,
I gave the soundtrack an 8.
Oh yeah, same here. Awesome.
Soundtrack was great. The soundtrack was so cool. I mean, if you're into that, like, really gothy Transylvania rock guitar stuff, you're going to love this soundtrack. I found myself, like, really just kind of sitting in parts of the level, listening to the music and seeing where it was going. And then when an encounter shows up, it changes the whole dimension of the music, and you're like, wow, this is so great. Something's happening that eludes you to, sometimes it's not fun knowing that something's about to happen when the music changes. But with this was great.
Yeah.
This was great. Yeah, it was like, yeah, boss time. And the dialogue was really cool going in with the graphics. So I gave the music and the soundtrack. The soundtrack definitely deserved an 8 as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, me too. This game was really well. The only complaint I would have, which, as I said, doesn't diminish the whole concept and everything in my head. I think it's this strong of a soundtrack. But, I had to actually kind of go in and try to turn down my music a little bit and try to find a better balance between the sound effects. Because when it comes out of the box, my music was a little loud. But then when I tried to turn it down...
Everything was set to 10.
Yeah, and I tried to turn it down, and it was like, oh, should I turn it down to 7? No, that's too low. Or 8, oh, it's a little too loud still. I'm trying to, find the balance. And, if they go in there and they reprogram that to maybe have another degree of difference, kind of in between those and set it up like that.
Yeah, throw 0.5 onto
or something. Yeah.
It would probably be a little more helpful, but I totally see where you're coming from with that. I think one of the nicer things about it was, though, that you're right, though, the sound effects versus the soundtrack were a little overbearing at times, and that's why it gets an 8. The music itself was unreal, though. Kept you in the game in such a fashion.
Yeah, I felt so metal. It's like it was so appropriate. It was like, I have a sword and I'm killing undead and demons and
it's exactly it's
jumping
that game
over
is
rivers
so
of
right
blood.
up your alley. Yeah, right. So good. Replayability. James, I gave this a 6. And the reason why I gave it a 6 is because it's a game that I'd like to go back to, but I feel like it's not a long-lived game. Almost in the dimensions of some of those older games that you look at where once you've beaten and taken this challenge, going back and playing it again is almost too simple because you know what to expect. I think the fun about playing this game the first time around is playing this game the first time around. After that, I feel like coming back to it might not be as much fun. Still a fun game to play, but I don't know. How'd you feel on that?
Yeah, I gave it a 6 as well. I mean, it's definitely, I'm nowhere near beating it, but, I don't know if I want to go back through the whole thing and play it again and beat it. I don't know. I'll see. They might add more levels.
I'm saved halfway through the game at the moment. I'm definitely going to go back and finish it. I want to beat the game. I want to see what the game's about at the end, but, it's nothing. It's not going to kill me to not play it again. It's not something where I'm like, oh my God, it wouldn't be like, it's not like a Mario RPG where I'm like, I got to go back and play that one more time. It's not like a DuckTales. It's got a great rhythm to it. It's got a fun gameplay to it. But once you've beaten it, you done it. And that's where it ends with that game, which is kind of a bummer. I was hoping for more out of that game, because when you see that kind of stuff, you're thinking, oh, they're going to add more and more and more. But once you've gone through it once, there's not much to do. So, hey, level add-ons, totally doable. Doesn't seem like it's something that they wouldn't be able to do. DLC packs and stuff like that. But, the original game, the game as it stands, it's all right. I'm giving it a 6 for replayability. My all-around number was a 7.5. Not bad.
I was a 7.25. Close.
Wow.
And
very similar.
Yeah. So, I mean, we definitely think this should be a game to be played. I think, especially for the money. I mean, and even if they took all the money they made off of this game and maybe made a Slain 2 where they added another element to it, maybe made it more like a Golden Axe or something like that. I don't know.
It would be really cool if they added more weapons or, more, or the ability to level up your character. Yeah. Kind of like in the latter Castlevania games. But, at the moment, the game's great for what it is. Again, 7.5 ain't bad. But, James, you do sword work, don't you?
Yeah, I sometimes go to a German longsword fencing club.
Maybe you might be the most qualified guy to go forward into this and maybe be Slain 2. Maybe you should be the lead character in Slain 2.
Oh, that would be awesome.
You think maybe Dozer, the PC Exposer, becomes Slain 2, starring Dozer?
Yeah, I don't think I could grow the hair that guy had in the Slain 1. That guy has got some pretty manly hair, man. That's some,
That is some pretty manly hair.
That's some Man of War 80s,
It's
heavy
weird,
metal.
man. Did you think that male pattern baldness wasn't a thing back then? Or was it just...
Oh, dude.
I don't...
This house is built of lies and wine. If there was something that I said, please help me, please help me. I was so amazed to see.
The mailbag. Now, I should say, you can submit all your mailbag questions to us at ysptpodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to Facebook and you can direct message us your questions. We like both forms. We'll take them any day. So please keep the questions coming. We love getting questions from you guys.
Yes.
All right, James, what do we got? You want to reach into that old mailbag and tell me what we got going on?
All right, let me get into that mailbag here and all right.
Wow, that's a deep reach.
All right, here we go. This one is from Jose C. Or was that Josie C? No, Jose C.
Jose C.
He says, what do you prefer, NVIDIA or Radeon video cards? Huh.
Oh. Well, that's it. See, so this is definitely probably better for you to answer, James. I don't. Hold on a second. Let me look. I don't even know what I have on my computer. That's how. I have an NVIDIA. I have a NVIDIA GeForce or something. I don't know. I don't do a lot of, I'm not really crazy about whatever card. I mean, like, I guess I need it for my editing and stuff like that, but I couldn't possibly really need it that much. For the most part, the games that I play on my computer don't, really have like a huge load capacity where they need like the max amount of numbers or the max whatever. So,
Well,
what would you prefer, I guess?
I'm also an NVIDIA fan, and I'll give you some reasons. For one thing, I mean, I'm running right now a 970, GTX 970, and it does all the high end gaming for now. But there's the Titan, and there's just other stuff that are just way beyond this. But they're also a lot more money. I mean, my card, you could probably pick up for under $400 now. It plays all the games, awesomely. But the reasons why I like NVIDIA over the Radeon series, the AMD, is AMD is also another fine graphics card. You're actually some of your most high performance specs come from that end. Those cards eat a lot of power. They're noisier than an NVIDIA. But the one thing that sells me on NVIDIA is, they might not be the cheapest in the low end, but their low end is, the support on it is awesome. You have, the GeForce experience where they keep that driver on your computer always up to date. And I know, like, when a game drops, like, when the new Star Wars Battlefront, when that came out this year, they were right there with the graphics driver update to maximize this, for there. So that's when you're paying for it, NVIDIA. And as I said, it's a quieter, it's a more power efficient, but it's a couple more bucks on the lower end stuff. But, once you start getting into the high end stuff, then you start to see, AMD's got some beautiful cards. But, I'm not going to be dumping $1,000 on a card, I'm just,
Yeah.
I don't have that type of money right now.
There's no way. No way. Yeah. For me, it's not important.
I mean, yeah,
for me,
games
it's all
run
about
fine.
Fans.
Yep.
Yeah, as long as the game I'm playing runs, I'm not concerned about it. And if it doesn't run, it wasn't for me. At the end of the day.
And you're right. If you buy like an NVIDIA card, some middle grade NVIDIA card every 3 years or so, and add it to your system, you'll be playing all the games that are coming out. I mean, it's and they'll look great and they'll work. So, yeah, I would definitely go with NVIDIA. But if you know what you're doing and you know what you're getting, you can also go with the AMD. And on the low end side, they got some cheaper cards and they spec really nicely as well. But, as I say, they eat a little more power and they're a little more noisier. So.
Yeah, so
and the drivers are a little buggier.
Thing.
Yeah, and the drivers are a little buggier. They're not. Some of the games sometimes don't work. So.
Well, that's interesting too. But so the support's there for the NVIDIA. See, like I wouldn't know. I mean, I really wouldn't.
Yeah, that's how
I
to choose
do find
that
interesting. Yeah, I do find that pretty interesting. I mean, it's cool. Well, thanks, Jose.
Yep.
Big fan here. Let's see. I got the next question here. Let's see, from Jackie T. I came across your YouTube channel and watched Babam do a video on one of my favorite games on Game Boy, Beetlejuice. I was wondering if you are doing more of these videos. I really enjoy the extra effort you put into it, producing all these with the live action stuff. Well, that's cool. Thanks. That was kind of fun. That was actually kind of a whim video that I did. I was Beetlejuice for Halloween this year. So I was like, what a great game it was Beetlejuice on Game Boy. Right now, we're in development of the second season stuff on the You Should Play This. And I've got 2 more episodes in the can before the second season starts. But there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to kind of switch around since we're getting into newer and cooler things, and we've finally got a higher budget to do more fun things. So we want to bring you the best experience in a game review we can possibly give you.
Yes.
So new things are coming. new episodes are coming out, and James is releasing new episodes too with Dose of the PC Exposer. Us calibrating to the podcast and including our editing skills into the video game reviews has been a little bit tough. It's been a tougher transition than either of us would like to admit. But we really like doing this podcast, and we really like doing game reviews.
Well, ultimately, it's the easiest for our efforts to be able to participate. To have the podcast is easier to put together than a bunch of these episodes that we're doing for the YouTube. So this really helps.
It's true. And if if you've been eating chocolate ice cream for a long time, and then you get chocolate chip ice cream with chocolates in it, like, you're gonna want to eat that a little bit more often because you haven't had that. So this is the equivalent to that. Is we've been working on these shows for over a year, and we finally started doing something new, and we're like, we're really into this, and we want to make this the best thing we can make it. And then as soon as we realize that we're hitting the way we want to make it, we're like, oh no, we have to go back into this, but we can't go back the old way. We have to make this better. So that's kind of like what ends up happening. It's a constant cycle of us trying to improve what we did before. So new episodes are coming. Yeah. I'm really excited about doing new episodes. The first episode of the second season, I can tell you what it's going to be. It's going to be The Adventures of Batman and Robin on Super Nintendo. So you have that to look forward to. That'll be a lot of fun.
Nice.
Did a lot of fun work with the blue screen, a little bit of CGI, or the green screen, a little bit of CGI. So there's going to be some cool stuff happening, and a new intro, which is really cool, with a song written by me. I wrote it. So that'll be cool. Right?
Oh, dude, I heard that song. It's the song you showed me, right? You mailed it to me.
Yeah, it's the song I sent you.
Yeah. I mean, that was awesome. But I love how you put it together too. That's like, it's
right.
Super geniosity.
It's just, I don't know. It says like, yeah, nice little. Now we have like now the You Should Play This show has its own theme song. It took a little bit of time, but whatever, we did it, and this is now it's cool. We're finally on it. So thank you very much, Jackie T. I appreciate that, and we're on it. Trust me, it's gonna be when it starts rolling, you're gonna be like, cool. I'm so glad that this is happening.
This is awesome.
So, do we have time for one more?
Yeah, let's do one more. This will be a quick one because I have no opinion on this next one. But Nelson M.
Oh, okay.
Nelson M asks, could you suggest a place to get my NES repaired? I have tried everything, but the red light just flashes and it won't stay solid.
Okay. You want me to take this one, James?
Yeah. I don't own one right now. I mean, at least I don't think I do. I'll have to go, look around my parents' house. But
so you could take it. I mean, I couldn't tell you to I don't know where you're located. We don't have where you're located, but
you can mail those things too, right?
What?
You can mail them to somewhere too. If you say, hey,
sure, you can mail them to somebody. Find somebody who repairs them. There's plenty of Facebook pages where people repair them. But here's what I truly suggest you do. And this I always found the first time I did it, I got really overwhelmed. But Nelson, don't worry about it. It's a lot easier than you'd think, right? So if you're sending it to mail it or this or anything, just the first thing you want to do is go onto Amazon and you buy 2 items. It's very easy. Amazon, you buy a Nintendo bit driver. And basically, the screws and all that stuff in Nintendo have a specific shape to them. This is going to allow you to open your Nintendo up, okay? Go onto YouTube and watch a video where a guy changes out his 72 pin. You can order a 72 pin and the screwdrivers on Amazon for like $20 total. Get them sent to your house, open up your Nintendo, dust it out, watch somebody the way they deep clean it. It's 2 screws. You unscrew the 2 screws, you pull the pin out, you put the new pin in, screw it back in, boom. Your system will be running no problem. Another thing I would suggest that you do, and it's a lot easier than you think it is too, is deep clean those games. And one of the things that you want to do is you go to any local hardware store. You can order it also on Amazon. I get a bunch of rolls for really inexpensive. And you take this Amory cloth, which is 1000 grit sandpaper, so it's really, really, really fine. And you lightly go across the edges of the games on the actual pins. and it really decreases the oxidation on the pins. And you take, 92% or higher rubbing alcohol, you put it on a cotton swab, and then you just go across it, clean it out, let it dry, give it a couple minutes to dry. What's nice about rubbing alcohol, it's not like water. It will dry a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Give it a little bit to dry. As soon as it dries, put it in the machine. See if the problem isn't the pins. It might actually be the game. Once you've cleaned out everything, that's really what it comes down to. Is once you've cleaned everything out, everything should run a lot nicer. If you have a top-loading Nintendo, this is probably not an issue you're having. But yeah, those old ones, after a while, you got to replace those 72 pins. And once you replace them, though, the system works great for years and years and years and years. Like I just replaced mine a couple years ago, and I don't blow in any games. I just right in, down, and done.
Wow.
And, it's great. I'm a big fan of, it's like having a brandy new system. It's like never had a problem before. Never put dirty games in your system. Always clean your games before they go into the system.
I wish I would have known that when I was 14. So many times I was blown in my,
I didn't know that either. But, this is the beautiful world we live in now, is we're able to order anything that we want off of Amazon and get it sent to our house in 2 days with free shipping.
Oh yeah, Amazon and eBay. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I think that's Nelson, I think that's your best bet, is to just grab some new equipment, go and do it yourself. I'm sure, what's the worst that can happen?
Doing it. And then, you can make your own Facebook and you'd be like, hey dude, I'll do this for
absolutely.
$20. Send me your stuff and
right.
$20, I'll do this. You can work at home.
Absolutely. Yeah, you get that nice and cheap. 72 pins. I think I have a couple laying around the house just in case,
Yeah.
Up until like 5 years ago, you could call Nintendo directly and have them send you one. Well, anyways, this concludes another wonderful episode of the You Should Play This podcast. We're so excited. James, we are like days away.
From
Let's
PAX.
see. It comes out on the 4th. That means we are 18 days away until PAX. Oh my God, we're going to be at PAX East. So if you see us, James and I are going to have some really, really cool stuff to give away. One of the things we just added to our fun stuff to give away today was what, James? We got pins.
Pins. We get buttons for you.
We got pins and buttons. Yeah, I'm so excited. We got a bunch of buttons made. So we're going to be handed out a bunch of buttons and pins. So if you see us, come and bother us. We'll have them all over us and you can take them. They're yours to have for fun. If you see us, take a picture of us, hashtag @YouShouldPlayThis, hashtag YouShouldPlayThis on Instagram. That'll be a lot of fun. Again, any questions you have for the podcast, any questions you have for James and I, anything you want to know, go to Facebook and direct message us at the You Should Play This page, or you can ysptpodcast@gmail.com. You can send us our questions there. And of course, the You Should Play This website, where you can see all of our videos, youshouldplaythis.com. All that stuff. Not bad, huh?
Yeah.
I've got it down to a science now.
We're getting there. We're
Do
getting there.
Do this.
Yes.
Yeah. This is pretty good. But again, we love hanging out with you guys. So much fun every single week. Thank you for all the support. Thank you, Jack and Casey from last week, broadcast from the basement. If you haven't checked them out yet, go check them out. They're a great group of guys. I love their podcast. I listen to it every week now. They've got me hooked. I didn't listen to it this week, but it's only because it was the same podcast
That we did. Yeah, we shared it.
that we did, so I can't. Yeah, so we shared the podcast. So I can't. I didn't listen to this week. Sorry, guys. But I'll listen to it next week.
One less click you'll get this week.
Well, it's still downloaded to my phone, but
Yeah.
But so thanks again to those guys, Jack and Casey, broadcast from the basement. So definitely check them out. And James, I can't wait to see you, buddy. I'm so excited to see you. See you in a couple weeks, and we're gonna be hanging out. Gonna see some wrestling. We're gonna eat some pizza.
Yes.
We're gonna be unhealthy the whole entire weekend and enjoy ourselves. And then I'm gonna send you back to California. I'm gonna sleep in my bed all day. So thanks again for hanging out with us. I'm Babom1337.
And this is Dozer, the PC Exposer.
And we will see you next week. Take it easy. You should play this universe.
Later.
Woo! Happy WrestleMania, everyone.
Alrighty.
Okay, I'm going to hit Stopper Rooney. Here we go. Waka waka.